you get so big getting food of this kind?
Hello out there, Port Havenites. Welcome in. I am going to do a breakdown of the final Rise of Skywalker trailer. I know I'm like 2 days late on it, but yesterday we did a fantastic live stream, and we had the wonderful Alex from Star Wars Explained on there. So if you want, you can go ahead and click. It'll probably be up there. A tag that will take you to that. And that's a really nice hour-long discussion. We had a really, really good chat. But now I want to take some time to go through frame by frame and really kind of dig into some of the stuff in a way that's easier by showing clips and stuff that we can really do on stream. So I'm really excited to get into that. This is obviously the trailer here. I apologize. I'm going to be looking in this direction a lot because that's where my monitor is. But I very seriously want to do the Star Wars thing of going through this frame by frame. There we go. So we start out on this planet, this kind of jungly place. As of right now, I don't know if we know for sure what this location is. I will talk to you guys. Just today we got an announcement on what one of the locations is, and I will get to that here in a second. Grab my phone because that's where I have it. But as of today being I think the 23rd of October, we don't know what this place is. This kind of jungly world that Rey seems to be training on. I really like this helmet. You can tell this helmet has a blast shield down, so you can't even see how she's supposed to fight. So it looks like a training helmet, not like a helmet that just simply has a blast shield, but almost like maybe that's what its purpose is to be sensory deprivating for training. I really wonder if Rey happens to be training on a planet, or if she's on a planet that is built for training. One of the leading theories is that this could be Yavin 4, the moon of Yavin 4, just because we see this lush jungle. I don't know that I think that, because I don't see the reason to not tell us that in this trailer. So much of this trailer evokes nostalgia and evokes this idea of this closure of the saga. Certainly Yavin 4 would make a lot of sense for that, but I also don't know why they wouldn't simply tell us that in that case, or show us one of the Masasai temples, if they're still called Masasai temples in this canon. What I do like here is you can see some lens flare, some very typical. This is how you know you're watching a J.J. Abrams movie. In this bit, you can see she has her saber. There's also an object on her waist there of some kind that seems to be moving. It might just be part of her pack. But she's running, and then you see up here, there it is. You see this training remote, and you see her reflect the training blaster bolt. We saw some of this in the D23 footage as well. The question is she training on hard mode, or does training go awry? Then we get to more shots of her running, and Rey likes few things less than running. You can see here it appears to be a holster, like she has a pistol of some kind as well. Maybe the pistol still that Han gave her. I don't know if it looks quite the same, but that's definitely what it is. So she's training with both a saber and a blaster. She's running through the jungles. At this point in time, Finn is doing a voiceover. I'll get to the voiceover after the stream. But what's interesting here is you'll note now the lightsaber is on her hilt. I don't actually see the gun anymore. And she has that red thread in her hand that we saw also in the D23 footage. So here she's going to do like her nice Lara Croft jump. Whee! Noting here, I'm going to say something that's not going to make a lot of sense, but I'm going to get to this later. It will make more sense as I go through the breakdown. This is clearly a cut on action, and I don't think this is a cut on action that is existing this way in the movie. I think this is 100% a trailer thing, because you note here she doesn't have a bag. Here she has a bag. Here's also where we see the Death Star ruins for the first time in this trailer, and she appears to be going with purpose of going to the Death Star. That's why she has this bag. Obviously, this shot evokes how we first met her in the Star Destroyer in The Force Awakens, only this time she is not wearing the garb. She doesn't have anything over her face. So this is her in a very raw form, but kind of back in her origins. You can kind of see drips of water. At least I could see them there. So, you know, it's probably raining or the waves, so she's inside of wherever. Here we get Finn. Finn, I really like Finn's macro, micro, whatever, binoculars. At first I wondered if the upper, like the big lenses and the small lenses might serve different purposes, but I also kind of wonder if they might not be made for a creature with 4 eyes, or at least adaptable for a creature with 4 eyes. So here you can see the grassland behind him. This is where I'm going to look at a tweet from Star Wars that was sent to me. It has been said by a blog from the Disney Parks website, as reported by Star Wars Stuff on Twitter, that there's this ocean moon of Kefbir, Kef, new word Bir, and it's specifically referred to as an ocean moon. Now, the reason why I bring that up here is because you see the shot in the other trailer where they come up across this grassland and they end up where we see the Death Star ruins in the first trailer. So I feel like even though it's an ocean moon, there are these land masses, and so we do know that, and that makes it very definitely not the planet of Pisana, which I'll bring up for reasons down the road here in a little bit. We see here this grassland behind him. There's this planet or moon or whatever it is everywhere. Then we go back to Rey. He is obviously not standing here watching her run here, but it is a very nice match on action here. This time she has her saber ignited. So I don't know if maybe this is in the middle, like we see the bit at the beginning with the training remote, then this, then the jump, if this is a completely different part of the movie, but that's just a really cool sweeping shot of wherever this happens to be. There's a lot of waterfalls and stuff. Here's the shot. If you look out here, this is actually where I want to start, just as a locational thing. This is really your only clue as to where it is. You can see a fern. Because of that fern, it makes me think that this might be the jungle planet, but you really can't get a read on it. Here we have Lando. He's very distinct in his colors. We have C-3PO here. We have Poe here. And then Greg Grunberg has tweeted that he is in this shot as well. So I think right there. So that would be Snap Wexley. And I'm sure more eagle-eyed people than I can pick this out. But you can even see more foliage back there. So this is, I think, still on that jungle world that exists wherever that exists within the film. Continuing through, here's our shot of Rose. What's interesting is you can see here, there's a blaster shot going. It's a little distracting because of the classic J.J. Abrams lens flare, but they're under attack. Like, there's sparks, there's explosions. Here we get a good look at Dom Monaghan's character, Connix's character, played by Billie Lourd, the daughter of Carrie Fisher. Here we see one of the warthog horses. I know they have a name. I'm calling them warthog horses. But here we see one of the warthog horses getting loaded into a ship. So I kind of wonder, you can kind of see off to the top there. There's a lot of smoke, but this could conceivably still be the jungle planet because it could be smoke mixing with mist. So I kind of wonder if wherever this jungle planet is, there's not a quick evacuation from there. Wherever is going on here, there's clearly an evacuation. It's just a question of from which planet are they being evacuated. And then we go to the shot where they're not having problems at all. We have Poe, we have Finn, we have Chewie, and we have Poe's new color-schemed X-Wing. Got some dude running back here, but this is clearly back on whatever the jungle world is. And yes, they're running, but it's not quite, under fire. And they're clearly looking at something or someone. Maybe Rey just came back and she's got a new box of Kylo Ren's cereal from Target, and they're really disgusted by it or something. Then here we have the ship taking off. I am not a spaceship expert, but I've seen around, we talked about it on the stream yesterday, this being the Tantive V that we know from the other Star Wars movies. It could be that, it could be the same model ship, you know, but at any rate, it's taking off. That's the point, is I think we're conceivably leaving the jungle planet. You can kind of see the hangar up there, but I can't really make out who would be in it. Here we have waves. Fun fact about me, I have a wave phobia, so as much as this looks awesome, I'm also kind of dreading a bit, but that's just a me problem. But here we have Rey. I think it's really interesting that Rey is out here in the middle of Criffin nowhere. We're going to see that here in another shot. So these massive waves going. This really spectacular shot. And then we go here. She's at a dead end. So I don't know why she's out there. This obviously goes into the Kylo Ren appearance where he's in the trailer. I wonder, have they already been fighting and she was running and hit a dead end? And then this is like Kylo coming out of the mist to attack her. Is this where they're seeing each other for the first time? Does she sense him there and runs because she's not ready to face him? What's going on there? But we know they're going to have a fight here. To go back and look at her for just a second, this slow motion thing. Here, I mean, she's not sopping wet, but she's in the same state that we see when she's investigating the Death Star later, or earlier in the trailer, but she does not seem to have the bag. So she either loses the bag, or this is a different encounter. It's a little bit hard to say. But this is a big thing for me to see Kylo. So Kylo is unmasked here, and that's been a big topic within the fandom community, especially online, and whether or not him being masked or not means anything. Not that Rey really wore a mask a lot in The Force Awakens, but we did meet her with head covering on, and then we get that shot of her in the Death Star that evokes her wearing a mask. Here we have Kylo without a mask. He is sopping wet because he doesn't care. He's just going to walk through the wave. He's going to stab the wave. That's what he's doing right there. I think there's a lot going on there too. But I can get onto that more when we get to more of them fighting. This shot, a lot of people have been wanting to talk about this shot. This shot is really why I really wanted to do the trailer breakdown, because what the heck is going on in this movie? A lot of people have looked at this shot, and at first they thought it was like a reflection. But if you look at it, this does not match this. This is not a reflection in the water. It could be the case of this is clear water and this part is underwater. I don't think that's true, because we are getting star reflection as well. Icebergs don't usually work this way. Now Star Wars kind of has a weird definition of science. But I don't think this is water. I think this is space, and I'll show you why. So here's the actual start of that shot. Here is, you can see it pretty well, that's good. There's a starscape and clouds, wisps of clouds. And as we go in, you can see kind of a structure here. See that? I would almost say it's a formation of a cave, but it's a formation of a cave surrounded by stars. And then we get into here. I think this angle is the most interesting. I think this is a floating chunk of ice inside a patch of atmosphere in space. I think this wisp of cloud is denoting air, and I think this ice is in that air pocket in space, which is pretty wacky, and I could be a total clown come December, but that's what I think. I think this is a Star Destroyer. You can see the lights along here, and just the fact that there are TIE fighters flying towards them. I think this is a TIE fighter frozen in space. And you can look here on the TIEs. There's red. There's that D-23 shot of all of the Star Destroyers in the nebula. They have red marks on them. These TIE fighters have red marks, or at least red lights on them. You can see it really well here. See, they're all marked with red. I don't really have a high enough resolution to tell you what that symbol is, but that's what I think. I think there's atmosphere in space surrounding this, whatever it is, ship, station, what have you. We are led to think, just because the shots are next to each other, that this is where this throne is. And this throne is a very interesting thing, as we will see later. But there's this steam. And I think this steam is telling. There's that lens flare, but I think that's to do with lightning. And I'm going to talk a lot about lightning, too, as we get through the trailer. But this is critical. We're seeing light flash. And this is where Palpatine's going to start talking. Some people think that there's a Sith symbol. The new Sith symbol is located within the chair. I definitely think that's possible. My resolution is not good enough for me to be able to tell. Also, I have my cursor right in front of it, so that doesn't help you. I think it's possible. My resolution is simply not high enough for me to tell. And I don't... That detail isn't really as big of a deal to me. Why wouldn't Palpatine's symbol be on Palpatine's stuff? And I'm presuming it is going to end up being Palpatine's symbol. Here, though, see we have this Star Destroyer rising out of ice. And lightning. Lightning's a big deal. I think this could be the Star Destroyer breaking out of this. I guess it doesn't really match unless maybe the top gets pulled off, or maybe it's a Star Destroyer in a different hunk of ice floating through space. But again, we get that lightning. This lightning is a very big deal to me. I think this lightning is going to come to represent a lot of Palpatine. I mean, we've seen Palpatine use Force Lightning. He was the first one to use Force Lightning. We see him use it in the prequel trilogy, the original trilogy. I think that lightning means Palpatine stuff is going on. Even if he's not conjuring the lightning, I think we're just supposed to, through Star Wars, through thematics, through iconography, associate lightning with Palpatine. And so I think this is a Star Destroyer rising out of a chunk of ice, and Palpatine things are happening. Now here's this shot. I cannot begin to break this down. Like I said, spaceships are not my thing. A lot of people think this is the Ghost. I think that would be wonderful. This is obviously the Falcon. There are many better breakdowns, including a fellow from Twitter, I think his name is Admiral Nick, who did a great thread on this. You can kind of see in the cockpit a little bit there, which is probably Lando. And then here's our hero shot. So we have this object, which you can't see. It'll go away here in a second. The blue spindly object there is clearly you're supposed to have its attention. They appear to be looking at it. You can kind of see Rey's eyes go to it and Chewie's eyes go to it, so it's clearly something important. Finn touches the chair of his buddy, but Rey's smiling at her adoptive father, Chewbacca. Poe is focused on what's going on in front of him, and then we have 3PO. So we're all kind of, this is the new hero crew loading up into the cockpit of the Falcon. Now here they are and they're fighting. This looks like where Kylo came out and saw Rey earlier in the trailer. You can see Rey still does not have the bag. She has her cool hood, and they're just fighting. And whether this is he showed up and so Rey started fighting, whether this is a climactic duel, I think the first time they see each other, they're going to fight. I'm not sure that Kylo is going to be the one that wants to, but I think Rey is going to be freaked out and mad at him. And that will be their first confrontation. Whether or not it's going to be a long-standing duel, but I can really easily see Rey being like, okay, I'm still mad at you. Here's a shot. We don't know what's getting exploded because it's already exploding by the time we get to it. Here you can see this is a Star Destroyer. You can see the engines here. This is the rump. This is the rump of the Star Destroyer pointing that way. So it presumably was just firing on whatever this is. You can see the Starscape. Starscape could just mean stars. Certainly wars in stars is not unheard of in Star Wars. But I wonder, a lot of people are trying to figure out, like, did this thing just blow something up? It certainly looks rock-based, but it could also be maybe a Star Destroyer did not successfully break out of ice. It could be any number of things, which I know is not hopeful. Here, this shot is going to make me want to cry in theaters because I am terrified of waves and water and heights and water and all of that good stuff. So I'm not looking forward to this shot in theaters, but that's a me problem. But here we can see more of the Death Star ruins. So Death Star ruins are very interesting to me in this movie. When we look at Return of the Jedi, we see the Death Star just incinerate. I can imagine there's debris. It's hard for me to imagine in that explosion there's debris large enough to be the, like, this looks like the circle part of the weapon to me. So one of two things are going to occur, and I talked about this a little bit on the stream yesterday, is we're either going to have the Star Wars science explanation of, it looked like it was incinerated, but it really wasn't, and there's actually a ton of pieces, and that's certainly plausible. I mean, lightsabers are physically impossible, so who says any other physics have to count? But we could also have something wackier of, what if pieces of the Death Star were transported somewhere? And that's another thing I will get to a little bit later here in the trailer. So here we have little baby Babu Frick. We have 3PO, we have 3PO's brain, and we have a very pensive looking Rey. Just like, I think that's the exact noise she's making. Here we have, so there's BB and the new droid. We have Zori. I missed her entirely the first time I watched the trailer because she's just standing there completely still. We have Poe, Rey, Finn. Obviously, they're in these jackets, so this could be a couple different things. There's an image of Zori bringing a piece to Poe. A lot of people think that it's going to be a piece that goes into this part of 3PO's brain for some kind of information. This is obviously where 3PO's sentimental line is. I really want to talk about lines of dialogue when I do lines of dialogue at the end, but we might as well talk about this one here. So we have, so what are you doing here, 3PO? And then the gut-wrenching line at my friends. So I think this is some tricky editing here. One, I think we need to remember the shot of red-eyed 3PO, and I think that's going to be related here somehow. I think we have Poe's line of, what are you doing there, 3PO? And like, either they didn't know this process is going on with the cords, which I find unlikely considering the leading theory is Zori bringing a piece for 3PO, or this is after Babu has done whatever Babu is going to do, and 3PO already has the red eyes, or 3PO's doing something weird. So I think this is out of order. I think it's important to note that 3PO's line here, because 3PO's mouth doesn't move, he could be saying anything here. So while I think that 3PO saying, just taking one last look at my friends, is probably in the movie, it doesn't have to be this shot, or even this scene, because they can put any 3PO dialogue they want over him right now. Most of the Star Wars trailers, especially Last Jedi and Solo, have kind of had the thesis statement of the movie in them, right? So you have Luke's, this is not going to go the way you think in the Last Jedi trailer. Maybe thesis statement is the wrong word for it, but that became such a critical thing. So much in The Last Jedi didn't go the way people thought. Solo, there was the line, if you assume everyone is going to betray you, you'll never be disappointed. I'm paraphrasing that a little bit. And everyone except for Chewbacca betrayed Han. I think that's what this line is going to be. This line is the take a last look at your friends, right? This is the nostalgic into the Skywalker saga. But I also just don't think it's taking place in this exact scene. And then everyone has been very excited at the battle droid there in the background. So we're just going to kind of cruise on. They're talking. This has to be Babu Frick's shop. He's supposed to be a droid guy. So they might travel somewhere where Babu is. Maybe this is that snowier planet that they find Zori on. Maybe they don't travel with Zori. Maybe they end up going here. I could conceive of, there's an issue, whether it be Palpatine, whether it be the First Order, whether it be Kylo, where they need information that 3PO might have, or only 3PO can read for whatever reason, and they go and search out Babu Frick. Whether that's with the whole of the Resistance or their own kind of side adventure, it's a little bit hard to say. There are shots from the other trailers where they're all on the grassy area. They're with Janna. I think it's interesting to note Janna is not here. So either Janna is currently doing her own thing, or they haven't met up with Janna at this point in time, considering like everybody but Chewbacca is in this well, and they have Chewbacca here, but Chewbacca doesn't necessarily have to be, like, this looks like they're under that same ship during the Rebel meeting earlier. even this, I don't think this shot is where 3PO has his brain wired up, because you can see these people here that are not in the coats they were wearing in this shot, right? So you can see them in these kind of big coats here. This appears to be, even if you look at those colors, that appears to be like a rebel area. So I think this is a completely different spot. Even this, and see, Poe is not in his jacket, so this shot of Chewbacca is not there either. So if we look here, we do not have Chewie, and we do not have Jannah. And I think those two details are interesting. Especially because why would Chewbacca not be involved in whatever they're doing? Dun dun dun. This Christmas. So this shot, here they're clearly in some sort of first order place. I mean, that goes without saying. This is definitely a reflection down here. They are not in the big dress coats, for whatever that means. There's really not a lot of shots anywhere else in the trailer besides these. Unless this is inside one of those Star Destroyers, unless they have to go inside one of them for some reason. But this is like the most normal thing. Like, this is just a hallway, an Imperial hallway, and they're shooting stormtroopers. Where everything else in the trailer just seems kind of wacky. Here's our one shot of Leia. We've already seen this shot of Leia. It's probably pretty telling as to how much footage they really have of Leia. We are on the jungle planet. I don't think Leia leaves the jungle planet with everyone else. That's my theory. What they're doing with Leia in this movie is they're using scenes that carry shot that were ultimately cut from The Force Awakens. I'm assuming while they're keeping her performance, and they promised that that would not be digital, that her outfit and her hair will probably be digitally changed just to look like it's in a different movie, but it will be Carrie's performance. But because of that, they're very limited in what they can do. So, I think that Leia doesn't leave this planet. What that means for her, I don't know. But I think Leia doesn't leave whatever this jungle planet is. Here we have BB-8. This is the planet of Pisana. This is the desert planet where we see, you know, there's the big party going on in the other trailers. BB-8 hits this thing. It explodes. You can see this is a stormtrooper. We've actually seen a shot like this in some of the other trailers. And they're basically, these are like some kind of weird dust firework. They're probably a part of whatever that festival is that they walk in on in the other footage that we've seen. Here we have 3PO. 3PO is not wearing any of the band, like Chewbacca's things, like the bandolier. He doesn't have the gun, which is interesting. I'm still kind of curious how that's going to factor in. Here we have Finn and Poe on an adventure, and they're excited. We go to Lando and Chewie, probably flying the Falcon in that big fight at the end. Here's a Y-Wing, being the first useful Y-Wing in the history of Star Wars. Just kidding. Anakin and Ahsoka flew Y-Wings once, so they're not that bad. But here, let's look at the sky. Look at how cloudy that is. But you can see stars. See? Right up there you can see stars, but there's all this dust. There is some flashing light from the fight that's going on. But you can see these Star Destroyers everywhere. This tagline is great. The saga will end, but the journey will live on. So amazing. But here, there's so much to unpack in this shot. So let's start with the obvious. They're riding the Space Horse Warthogs. We see Jannah. This is clearly Jannah in the front. We have Finn as well. So here at this point in the story, they have teamed up more than he has with Poe. We have little BB-8 being the bravest one of them all. And they're just charging on the Star Destroyer. They're just doing things. What's interesting to note, and I'm going to do this a lot, look back here. Lightning. Lightning and weird clouds. So again, my pet theory is these ships are in a nebula that has atmosphere. When we were on the stream, I keep saying yesterday, you might not be watching this on the day where it is yesterday, but for me, yesterday, Alex from Star Wars Explained really was confused about these space horses because they keep showing up everywhere. They're supposed to be native to Pisana, and they're everywhere. I think that they get, my pet theory is that they get loaded up. Let's see, where are we at here? 145? We can come back to that. If we go back to the Rose shot, here, you can see one person's riding the horse Warthog onto the evacuated ship. So I think they get taken off the planet, and I think that's why they're kind of everywhere. Let's go back to 145. There we go. So I think that that's what this is. That they're on a horse charge in a nebula that has atmosphere. Now we get more shots of Rey and Kylo. Now what's interesting here, Rey has her saber out. Kylo does not. He is unmasked, and I do not see any sign of his lightsaber being activated. This is the throne room. This I cannot take credit for noticing, but this is the throne room on the Death Star. This is the window. This is Palpatine's chair, which means that this is not the same throne room that we saw the throne in earlier in the trailer. But again, it makes me wonder about the Death Star, because again, is it just going to be Star Wars science? Everything wasn't really incinerated. That's just what it looks like, but there's really all these pieces everywhere. Or is there something going on? Were these pieces sucked up in some sort of force power and put somewhere? And like, that sounds really wacky to me. Like, I understand how that sounds, but we also have like a nebula with atmosphere. I think there could just be shenanigans afoot. But that's my big things. I really want to know where these pieces came from. Here we have, let me get back to it, Finn. Finn is running on this thing. This looks a lot like where we saw Rey before. So I feel like he knew Rey was going down here. He knew Kylo was coming and is coming to get her. But here's what everyone discussing this shot I've not seen talked about. That's Janna. I believe that's Janna. So Finn is running. Janna is not, and they are together. So to me, this is happening, which means the Kylo-Rey confrontation that's in earlier than the trailer does not happen until they meet Janna. So I personally don't think this part is early in the movie. I know I've talked to a couple different people who think that the Death Star ruins are at the beginning of the movie. Maybe they are, and maybe Rey leaves and comes back, but to me, I don't think so, just because of that appearance. Here's the other part that's got a lot of people talking. First of all, where the heck is this? This is very clearly Imperial. It has these weird designs that are all over anything Imperial. This structure looks so much like Vader's meditation chamber. It's not, but it's just the same kind of jagged shapes. This looks like something Imperial, but it's all stark white. And that's crazy. This is some sort of like obsidian-like thing that's getting smacked. This, to me, looks like Vader's helmet. So if you rotate like this, the shape looks very Vader-y to me. Now, I don't know if it's actually Vader's helmet or if this might have been a statue, because it looks charred, so it could be burned. Vader's suit was burned, it was cremated, but this does not look like it's in the shape of armor. So this to me looks like it's a stand. Whether or not that's Vader's helmet, I don't know. Now, we don't discuss leaks on this channel. I don't look at leaks. I'm going to talk about something that is not a leak, but also not officially released, but I'm going to do it in very broad terms. There is a shot of footage that was released at D23. So I don't consider it a leak because it was released at D23. However, it has not been released on any kind of video officially released by Star Wars. Therefore, I don't want to talk about it in detail. But it is a shot of Kylo in a white space. And if you're the type of person that looks at these images, you know what I'm talking about. And that could be here. I think, and I'm going to leave it at that. People who know about it, know about it. People who don't want to know about it, don't. And that's all we need to say. What's interesting is at this point, Kylo is masked. You can see the reassembled lines here. They're glowing red. I'm very curious if they always glow red, or if this is a sign of something. People have been trying to figure out in the shot if Rey and Kylo are fighting, or if they are trying to destroy this thing. So here's my 2 cents. This looks like Vader. This looks like a thing they might want to destroy. I don't think they would take something that would be so symbolic as Kylo intentionally destroying Vader's mask and then throw it in a really quick shot in the trailer. Like, I don't think they would be that flippant about it. I think that this is either not really Vader's mask, or this is just a statue, or this is something else. I don't think this is like a critical thing that gets destroyed, because it wouldn't be in the trailer such as it is. Whether or not they're fighting in this part is really hard to determine. He has his mask on, and this is the only part of the trailer where he does. If you watch how his saber moves, he is completely whiffed. Like, he's not striking anything. Watch his saber. It's Rey's saber that connects with this thing and destroys it. Unless he's already done the first blow, maybe, and we've missed that. But this does not look like a thing where they were in unison trying to destroy it. It looks like he's rushing forward. But even then, she looks more concerned that she's destroyed it. Some people have wondered if he's going to take his mask off here. I don't know, because in Force Awakens, when we saw him take his mask off, he takes it off here. He, like, pulls part of it out and the mouth opens. He doesn't grab the mouth part. So that does not look like the action of taking his mask off to me. But his mask reassembled might have different rules. Other people are also noticing Rey has a dagger. So she's just got quite an interesting assortment of things. But she's not using that dagger to destroy. So, like, if they are working in unison, why is she whipping this saber or this dagger around, but not using the dagger to destroy the thing? So I just think there's some wackiness going on here that we're not going to understand until we know the context of that shot. Here is Poe and Finn in some kind of cave with 3PO. Again, lightning, more horses, BB-8, and again, you can kind of see stars in the sky. You can see all these clouds. I think they're inside a nebula. I really, really do. Here's Kylo somewhere. There's light shining on his face to show how he's going to be redeemed later in the film. Dang it. But he's also somewhere with lightning. And he's also somewhere with some steam. And then here's the last really, the second to last part. So here's this walking chair. There's Palpatine. There's Rey. She does not have her saber activated. So she's been surprised by something. This, to me, does not look like the throne we saw, because it doesn't have the jagged things off the side. It has mechanical bits. See, this is 159. The chair, oh, wow, I was good. This throne does not have any of that. Unless this part pops out of the back, I don't think it's the same chair. And maybe it does pop out of the back. Where were we? Here we are. But this really looks like Palpatine to me. If you watch here, you can see fingers. So he definitely has a hand. There's lightning going on, because I think we're supposed to associate lightning and Palpatine. And then we get some lines of dialogue, and then we get Rey. And we get Rey with the light flashing, but I think that's lightning. I think, and it's definitely her. I've gone through this frame by frame already. I thought maybe this was cross-cutting two different shots of Rey, but I don't think so. I think it's the same space. It's just lights flashing. And then the red Skywalker. So that's kind of my thoughts going through. We have a couple of lines of dialogue I want to hit before we wrap up. But we have Finn's.
It's an instinct. Feeling. The Force brought us together.
So there's a couple of things that could go on here. Finn is, as of right now, not established as a Force-sensitive character, but he is a character that has been established as a Force believer to some extent. My favorite line from The Force Awakens is him saying, "We'll use the Force," and Han saying that's not how the Force works. So Finn is somebody who thinks the Force is actively doing something in his life. This line could just be as simple as he's a Force believer. He's like Lyra Erso from Rogue One. He just believes the Force is doing something. Some people are holding out that it's evidence for Force-sensitive Finn. I would be all okay with the Force-sensitive Finn. That's not something I really want to get my hopes up for. But, I mean, I'm not going to complain if we get that. Then we get Poe talking.
We're not alone.
We're not alone.
Good people will fight if we lead them.
Good people will fight if we lead them. So this is Poe transitioning out of just being the hero to I want to lead, I want to inspire other people. So that's telling...
People keep telling me they know me.
And then Rey, people keep telling me we know me. Or people keep telling me they know me. So what we're getting here is snippets on how the main characters all feel, right? Finn is talking about how we were all brought together for a purpose, that he has kind of found his family. Poe is in his purpose of leadership. Rey is the one who's like, people think they know me, but they don't.
No one does.
This is where she's at. And then we have Kylo's, but I do. And that's kind of, we don't really get Kylo's frame of mind, but we get Kylo still wanting to connect to her. I think it's interesting that both Finn and Poe have these group ideals where Rey is focused on Rey, and Kylo is focused on Rey. Take that for whatever you want it to be. Then we get Palpatine. He is the patient planner. He has waited.
You're coming together. Is your undoing.
So Palpatine's talking about how he's waited for a long time, and you're coming together. I immediately think of Palpatine's plans to bring Luke before him in Return of the Jedi, and talking to Vader, and speaking of Vader, saying his compassion for you will be his undoing. Ultimately, it is Luke's compassion that saves Vader and saves the galaxy. Here he is saying it's the coming together, it's what Finn and Poe are talking about. That's going to be their undoing, but it's probably going to be what saves the galaxy. I talked about 3PO's line already.
Confronting fear.
There we go.
Confronting fear. It's the destiny of a Jedi.
So we get some of Force Ghost Luke talking again, just like the first trailer. And then he's your destiny. So it's this confirmation that Rey is a Jedi because her destiny is that of a Jedi. And it's this big hero moment of like, yes, this is what the Jedi are going to do. And then we have the end of the trailer. Palpatine laughing.
The Force will be with you.
Always.
Force will be with you always. Now, hearing Carrie was a gut punch, let me tell you. I don't know that that's necessarily going to be a line in the film from her. I think this was meant to be a shout out to Leia. I think Luke saying the Force will be with you is that nostalgic line that we're all used to, and I think letting Leia say part of it adds to that. I don't know that we're actually going to get that here. If you think back to some of the Force Awakens trailers, you have Luke's "The Force is strong in my family. My father had it. My sister has it. You have that power too." When they recorded that, JJ used both the original dialogue from the film and had Mark Hamill re-record some voiceover so that it matched. As much as I love this line, and as much as this line is beautiful, I think this could be the most doctored line out of anything in the trailer, unfortunately. But I talked way the heck longer than I thought I was going to do, especially considering we had an hour-long stream yesterday. But that's my breakdown of this amazing, amazing trailer. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know what you think of my wild theories. The two big things I'm kind of holding on to is the thought that parts of the Death Star were somehow, through the Force, transported from one place to another, and that's how they weren't incinerated, and the idea of a big ol' nebula in space that has atmosphere. Those are my two kind of like wacky theories that may or may not be true. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. And until next time, keep it real and fly casually.
Cooking can be fun.